Hello, and welcome to The Sacred Garden, a podcast where we explore the timeless stories of the Bible. I'm Alexandra, and I'm just like you, a regular person with a curiosity about faith and a desire to understand these ancient texts. Now, before we dive in, let me be clear. This podcast isn't about proselytizing. There's no religious agenda here. All are welcome, regardless of your beliefs or lack thereof. We'll be journeying through the Bible, starting with the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, also known as the Old Testament. We'll follow the original order as presented in Judaism, recognizing the historical significance of this tradition. My goal is simply to share these powerful stories, to offer my own reflections as a fellow human being, and to encourage you to engage with these ancient texts in your own way. So grab a cup of tea, find a comfortable spot, and join me as we begin this journey. Today, we embark on the book of Genesis. When God began to create heaven and the earth being unformed and void, with darkness over the surface of the deep and a wind from God sweeping over the water, God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, a first day. God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the water, that it may separate water from water." God made the expanse, and it separated the water which was below the expanse from the water which was above the expanse. And it was so. God called the expanse sky. And there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. God said, "Let the water below the sky be gathered into one area, that the dry land may appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of waters he called seas. And God saw that this was good. And God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, seed-bearing plants, fruit trees of every kind on earth that bear fruit with the seed in it." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, seed-bearing plants of every kind, and trees of every kind bearing fruit with the seed in it. And God saw that this was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate day from night. They shall serve as signs for the set times, the days and the years. And they shall serve as lights in the expanse of the sky to shine upon the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to dominate the day, and the lesser light to dominate the night, and the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the sky to shine upon the earth, to dominate the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that this was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day. God said, "Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and birds that fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky." God created the great sea monsters, and all the living creatures of every kind that creep, which the waters brought forth in swarms, and all the winged birds of the every kind. And God saw that this was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fertile and increase, fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day. God said, "Let the earth bring forth every kind of living creature, cattle, creeping things, and wild beasts of every kind." And it was so. God made wild beasts of every kind, and cattle of every kind, and all the kinds of creeping things of the earth. And God saw that this was good. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. They shall rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the cattle, the whole earth, and all the creeping things that creep on earth." And God created man. In his image, in the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fertile and increase, fill the earth and master it, and rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and all the living things that creep on earth." God said, "See, I give you every seed-bearing plant that is upon all the earth, and every tree that has seed-bearing fruit. They shall be yours for food. And to all the animals on land, to all the birds of the sky, and to everything that creeps on earth, in which there is the breath of life, I give all the green plants for food." And it was so. And God saw all that he had made, and found it very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day God finished the work that he had been doing, and he ceased on the seventh day from all the work that he had done. And God blessed the seventh day, and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that he had done. Such is the story of heaven and earth when they were created. Okay, I'm gonna stop reading for a second and give my comments, because I really like that this translation of the Torah, it starts with "when God began to create," which is different from the from what I was having written in the Christian Bible, that it starts with the famous "in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth." I like this translation that it says "when God began to create," because it gives the idea that God already existed, like he was doing his own thing, and then at some point he decided to create. He began to create, and I just like this version better, because it really puts him outside of time. Like he was already there, and then at some point he had the idea of creation, and so he began creating this beautiful world for us. So when God began to create, I like this one. And another thing I noticed is that God blessed the animals, but he did not bless the plants. And I read the book of Enoch, which I will do in a bonus episode, because it talks about creation, and I love the description of the 7th day of creation in the book of Enoch. So I will do a bonus episode and read that one. And in that book, we see that the plants were already there. There were plants in the heavens. So to me, the fact that God didn't bless the plants, it's like, they were already in existence, like it was nothing new to him. But the animals, those were a new invention, and so God blessed them. And another thing we need to talk about is the let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Like, us who? Who is he talking about? The first time I read that, I was really perplexed. But again, this is something that it's written in the book of Enoch, and we will also find out later. It's talking about the angels. Like, God is talking with the angels, about the angels. Like, angels were already there in existence with God. And so he's saying, let us make man in our image. It means he and the angels. So this gives us the idea that they are humanoid, or at least the angels are. So they have one head, 2 arms, 2 legs. Like, if man is created in their image, it means they are humanoid, right? And another thing that I noticed is that God gives the names: day, night, sky, earth, seas. God gave those names, but later on we will see how Adam was in charge of giving names to the animals. Okay, we continue now with Genesis chapter 2. When the Lord God made earth and heaven, when no shrub of the field was yet on earth, and no grasses of the field had yet sprouted, because the Lord God had not sent rain upon the earth, and there was no man to till the soil, but a flow would well up from the ground and water the whole surface of the earth. The Lord God formed man from the dust of the earth. He blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. The Lord God planted a garden in Eden, in the east, and placed there the man whom he had formed. And from the ground the Lord God caused to grow every tree that was pleasing to the sight and good for food, with the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and bad. A river issues from Eden to water the garden, and it then divides and becomes 4 branches. The name of the first is Pishon, the one that winds through the whole land of Havilah, where the gold is. The gold of that land is good. Bdellium is there, and lapis lazuli. The name of the second river is Gihon, the one that winds through the whole land of Cush. The name of the third river is Tigris, the one that flows east of Ashur. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. The Lord God took the man and placed him in the Garden of Eden, to till it and tend it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden you are free to eat, but as for the tree of knowledge of good and bad, you must not eat of it, for as soon as you eat it, you shall die. The Lord God said, It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a fitting helper for him. And the Lord God formed out of the earth all the wild beasts and all the birds of the sky, and brought them to the man, to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each living creature, that would be its name. And the man gave names to all the cattle, and to the birds of the sky, and to all the wild beasts. But for Adam no fitting helper was found. So the Lord God cast a deep sleep upon the man, and while he slept, he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh at that spot. And the Lord God fashioned the rib that he had taken from the man into a woman, and he brought her to the man. Then the man said, This one at last is bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, for from man was she taken. Hence a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, so that they become one flesh. I'm going to stop again because we need to address immediately something that we see now, and we're going to see it again later on through the Bible, and is the way that the name of God appears. So at the beginning, we were calling him God, and now for the first time we see Lord God. So in the Old Testament, God is referred in 3 ways: as Elohim, which is translated as God, as JHVH, Yahweh, which is translated as Lord, and as GHVH, Elohim, Yahweh, Elohim, which is translated as Lord God. This is because different people put their hands on the Bible and reassemble it and translate it. I mean, you need to imagine this is like a very ancient text. So it has been translated from one language to another, and, you know, it makes sense that something got, you know, I don't want to say like lost in translation, but more, you know, readapt. I'm not sure, but you can see through the way the name of God is written that is a different author. And in fact, in this second version we just read, you know, there is a difference. In the first version, we read, He created him, male and female, He created them. God blessed them. So in the first version, the first author is telling us that God created both of them at the same time. Male and female, He created them. In this second version, Lord God created the woman after. Also, He first attempted to give the animals to Adam as a helper. It says, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a fitting helper for him. Also, who is he talking to? Like, again, let me just read exactly the words that he says. The Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a fitting helper for him. Like, who is he talking to? Because he's not saying this to Adam, because he's not saying, it is not good for you to be alone. Let me make you a helper. Like, is he talking to himself? Or again, is he talking to the angels? Like, they were present with him at the moment of creation while he was creating things, and he's like, I see that the man needs somebody. So also in this second version, he creates man before the animals. It seems like it. And then Lord God formed out of the earth all the wild beasts and all the birds of the sky and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. So in this second version, the man came first, and then the animals, and then the man named the animals. Maybe Lord God thought that he would keep himself busy naming all the animals, but yeah, it was not enough. He needed a woman. One more thing I want to say. Hence a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, so that they become one flesh. This phrase makes no sense in here, because Adam was just created from dust. There is no concept of a mother and a father. There is, makes absolutely no sense, this phrase in here. There is no family. Adam doesn't have a father and a mother. So it is clear that this was added after to explain why a man leaves his family of origin and create his own. In here makes no sense. Do you agree? Let's continue now with Genesis chapter 3. The two of them were naked, the man and his wife, yet they felt no shame. Now the serpent was the shrewdest of all the wild beasts that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, Did God really say, you shall not eat of any tree of the garden? The woman replied to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the other trees of the garden. It is only about fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden that God said, You shall not eat of it or touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, You are not going to die. But God knows that as soon as you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like divine beings who know a good and bad. When the woman saw that the tree was good for eating and a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable as a source of wisdom, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they perceived that they were naked, and they sewed together fig leaves and made themselves loincloths. They heard the sound of the Lord God moving about in the garden at the breezy time of day. And the man and his wife hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. The Lord God called out to the man and said to him, Where are you? He replied, I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. Then he asked, Who told you that you were naked? Did you eat of the tree from which I had forbidden you to eat? The man said, The woman you put at my side, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. And the Lord God said to the woman, What is this you have done? The woman replied, The serpent duped me, and I ate. Then the Lord God said to the serpent, Because you did this, more cursed shall you be than all the cattle and all the wild beasts. On your belly shall you crawl, and dirt shall you eat, all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. They shall strike at your head, and you shall strike at their heel. And to the woman he said, I will make most severe your pangs in childbearing. In pain shall you bear children. Yet your urge shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. To Adam he said, Because you did as your wife said, and ate of the tree about which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. Cursed be the ground because of you. by toil shall you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles shall it sprout for you, but your food shall be the grasses of the field. By the sweat of your brow shall you get bread to eat, until you return to the ground, for from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. The man named his wife Eve, because she was the mother of all the living. And the Lord God made garments of skins for Adam and his wife, and clothed them. And the Lord God said, Now that the man has become like one of us, knowing good and bad, what if he should stretch out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever? So the Lord God banished him from the Garden of Eden, to till the soil from which he was taken. He drove the man out, and stationed east of the Garden of Eden the cherubim and the fiery ever-turning sword to guard the way to the tree of life. Okay, before I start with my commentary, let's take a second to acknowledge the mic drop moment of God when he says, For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. Snap! Beautifully said, God, beautifully said. Now, so much to say. Where shall we begin? Shall we start from the end? When he says, Now that the man has become like one of us. One of us who? One of us who? This reminds me of when he said, Let us make man in our image. Our who? This is a confirmation of what I've been saying. He's talking about the angels also because we have the first mention ever of the cherubim. Like the first time I read this, okay, I'm reading, and then we have, he drove the man out and stationed east of the Garden of Eden the cherubim. Excuse me, when was the cherubim made? Like we've read the creation story. There was no day when God created the angels. There was no mentioning. It means they were already there. They were already in existence with God. And this is demonstrated by the fact that he's saying, let us make man in our image. Also, we have God saying, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a fitting helper for him. Who is he talking to? He's saying this to the angel. Also, when he says, now that the man has become like one of us, knowing good and bad, what if he should stretch out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat? Like, who is he talking to? Because he's not talking to Adam. He's not saying to him, what if you should stretch out your hand and also take from the tree? That I need to banish you. You need to, he's not talking to him. He's saying this to the angel. Like, it's like, I have to do this because what if? And he's just expressing his concern to the angels who were already there at the moment of creation. They were with God, witnessing what was happening. To my point, the angels were not happy about God creating humans. They were not happy about this. And that's why I believe that the serpent is actually one of the angels, transfigured as a serpent, creating drama. Like, I really believe this. It could totally possibly be that the serpent is actually an angel, stirring the pot of drama. He won't meant to fail. I think it is mentioned in the book of Enoch about this, about the angels not being happy with the humans. I think it's in the book of Enoch when we have this. And it is also possible that the angels were jealous, envious, and blah, 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 because they have a full range of emotions. Like when he says, let us make man in our image. And I said before that, this can mean that the angels are humanoid, God is humanoid. If we look like them, then it means that, they have a head, 2 arms, 2 legs, but it might not only be a reference to the physical appearance. It may be in reference to the full range of emotions. Like humans, they feel all the feelings, and so do they. So it is possible for an angel to experience jealousy or envy and wanting men to fail. And so they tempt the woman. They want them to disobey God. they want to see what is the punishment. They don't want them there. Could totally be. Also, another possible interpretation, because I've heard before, like, why is this serpent even there? Why God didn't even create an animal, so vicious, able to tempt and blah, blah, blah. Well, he wanted a challenger. It's totally possible that God created the serpent in this way, able to create drama, because that's what he wanted. Ultimately, like, the whole point for God to create this world is to entertain himself. And I say this in the nicest way possible. Again, from the book of Enoch, he said, I alone used to go about in the invisible spiritual things, like the sun from east to west and from west to east. But even the sun has a peace in itself, while I found no peace, because I was creating all things, and I conceived the thought of placing foundations and of creating visible, physical creation. Like, this is just an extract, but to say, it is totally possible that God was bored in his perfect world, where he was living there with the angels, playing the instruments, singing for him, and like, all is good, all is love, all is light, like, beautiful, fine. But even God can be bored, That's why he created this imperfect world with imperfect men that, get tempted and disobey, and like, he's fine with that. It's totally possible. And that's also why when he says, the Lord made garments of skins for Adam and his wife and clothed them. Like, it's not hating on them. Like, he's fine. They disobeyed, and now he's dressing them and let them go. Like, he's not angry. He's fine with it. Probably even wanted that. He was hoping for the disobedience and the punishment. He wants to have this different experience that is not the perfection of the angels. Like, he's fine with that. Also, Adam is fine with that, because he has no concept of what it's gonna be like outside of the Garden of Eden. So he's not hating on Eve. He calls her the mother of all the living. And the first time I read this, I thought, this is nice of him. Like, he could call her names, but instead, he calls her the mother of all the living, because he understands that now it starts a new life. It's going to be a new life, a different one. He doesn't know what it means. He doesn't know if it's good or bad. He doesn't even know if God is going to be with them. Because at this point, it doesn't know. It doesn't know. So it's like, okay, Eve, you're the mother of all the living. I'm going to be the father of all the living. We're going to start a new life. Let's see how it goes. And another thing I wanted to say, I laughed when when she said, she was talking with the serpent about, God said, lest you die. Like, what kind of punishment is that? She has no concept of death. Of course, she took the apple, which, by the way, is not even mentioned. It's an apple. We say it's a fruit. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure why now we say it's an apple, but she took this fruit. I mean, she's not scared of taking this fruit, because what even is death? She was literally just created now. She has no concept of death. So God saying, don't take it, otherwise you die. Like, whatever. Like, I don't even know what that means. So, yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. These were my notes. And I think we should stop here for today, because next chapter, Genesis chapter 4, is when they are creating their family. That's where we have Cain and Abel, and we should reserve that to another episode. So for now, I'm gonna thank you for listening this, and I'll catch you on the next one. Ciao for now. You've been listening to The Secret Garden, brought to you by Beeswax Garden. At Beeswax Garden, we create handcrafted beeswax candles inspired by the beauty of nature. Each candle is made with love and care, using only the finest beeswax. A portion of our profits is donated to charity. Discover the magic of our candles at beeswaxgarden.shop.